So we could take away all of that middle guesswork and we could truly master the art. If you can hear spirit, if you can connect in that way, it means that there's the potential to master it at another level.
You guys, and welcome back to the Psychic Within podcast. Today, we are talking about the fact that there is a mass exodus in the psychic community. And for those that are staying, they absolutely seem to be struggling. And we are going to tell you exactly why. Whether you are a provider or you are a receiver of a session, there are things that you absolutely need to know. And I am here with Ceejay Amanda, a psychic medium, and Caroline Nixon, a medical intuitive, in order to discuss the three most important parts of the psychic community, which for me is psychic readings and regular psychic mediumship and medical intuition, which covers all aspects of healing. So I'm going to let these ladies introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about who they are, what they do really quick, and then we're going to dive in. There are so many important things that I want to discuss and I want to share with you guys today, as well as I know they do, to help you guys really understand what's going on in the psychic industry. So Caroline, you want to start?
Sure, why not? So, hi everyone. My name's Caroline Nixon. I am a medical intuitive. I'm also a psychic and I'm also a healer. And sometimes there's a little confusion about that. And if you have any questions, just let me know. But as a medical intuitive, I am able to see the body. I see the organs, I see the blood, I see the cells. I can see where there is energy not moving in the body. As a healer, I'm able to help you to bring homeostasis back into the body. I can take energies out, I can bring energies in. As a psychic, I see why it's there. I see the emotions, the thoughts, the beliefs, the stuck energy. I can see your shadow aspects. I can see all of that. And together it makes this beautiful healing package so that you can truly heal from the inside out, feeling amazing. I've been doing this work for about 25 years. Now, it's gotten deeper and deeper and deeper as I have done my own healing work, which is important. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And I think that's it. That's short and sweet. Was that good?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. Siege, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, so I'm a psychic medium and I specifically mentor mediums and understanding what that means of doing mediumship their own way. And so I bring in psychic work through mediumship and we work a lot on discernment, on healing, on really mastering energetics in a whole new way, in ways that mediums are not doing it today. So that is the core of my work and everything that surrounds and comes with that, the in-betweens.
Absolutely love it. And yes, I totally agree. One of the things for those of you who follow me for a while, who've taken any of my courses, one of the things that I constantly talk about is the fact that the way that people used to do psychic readings, used to do mediumship, the way that people used to do healing, it's all changing. And it's one of the biggest reasons why I teach psychic development is because of the fact that as we continue to progress in our own expansion of consciousness, as time goes by on this planet, the way in which we use our abilities, the way in which we communicate, the way in which we take care of ourselves is going to be drastically shifting. And I know that part of the reason that people have been leaving the psychic community or no longer doing sessions is because of these exact reasons that we're going to share today. So one of the things that I would love to talk about is I'd love for you guys to share a little bit in your industry of what you feel isn't working and what you feel is kind of like an old way of doing things. Maybe pick like one or two important things in your industry that you feel like isn't working, and I'll let you guys decide who goes first.
So yeah, I love this topic because we see such a range of the way in which psychic work is done, the way in which mediumship is done. And I really honor the uniqueness in which everyone comes about in doing that. But there's this pull or there's this demand or there is this wanting to see more, wanting to understand more, wanting to go deeper. And especially within mediumship, we see a lot of winging it, a lot of guesswork, a lot of just trying to, entertain. And so there's a lot of validations going on, and some of it is not very clear of like who's what. So like we get into a room, we do readings for people, and then it's, well, who has a grandfather? Who has a grandfather? Who is a Joe? Who is a Frank? Where does this go? And then we wait to see who it lands with. And so this is I think it's very much an old way of doing it. I really believe that the more that we dive deeper into our work and master the energetics, we should already know who those messages are meant for, and how, and beyond that, how they're meant to land and what the messages is coming in for that person. So we could take away all of that middle guesswork and we could truly master the art. If you can hear spirit, if you can connect in that way, it means that there's the potential to master it at another level. So it's getting beyond the surface level and really reinventing it in a unique way in which you can connect deeper through mastery. So that is one of the things that I think is really key here, that I keep seeing, and where we could have sessions where it's just full on validations. Like, this is grandma. She's doing this. She saw you eat salad today. She saw you, go for a run. And a lot of these things can be so sweet and empowering and have beautiful validations, because how would they know that otherwise? But then once we get through the validations and know that the connection is there, what's beyond that? What are we creating here? What's the purpose of this connection? Why are we continuing this connection? Or even here, why do I need more than one session? If I know she's alive on the other side and I know that I've connected to her, the proof is there. There's nothing more to continue on with in this, in mediumship. And I'm like, no, that is just the start. Like, we create full-on relationships with the other side. There's so much growth that can be had on both sides of the spectrum, not just for the living to confirm and to expand our own spirituality, but for the other side to heal and to grow in spirit form. So a lot of things coming in from this. I could go like a million directions, but it's coming from the mastery of the energetics and in the discernment of what we're connecting to and with and why. So that's my big one, especially for mediumship.
Yeah, and I love that. And I would love for also Caroline to expand on this, and then, you can as well, CJ. But one of the things that I see is, and I think this is a big change that needs to happen, is oftentimes people will book a session with a psychic or a medium or a healer because of the fact that they just want validation about something, or they need something answered. And I know a lot of psychics will say, and I've even, taught some psychics that are like, I won't do a second reading for somebody it's got to be at least 6 months past. And I understand why this is true, because in my experience in working with, I'll call it like old way of doing psychic stuff, it is just a lot of validation. It is just a lot of like, this is what I see and this is what you can do and this is what we experience. But in my teaching of psychic and what I see of what psychics and mediums and healers are supposed to be doing isn't just giving people information, isn't just validating things. It is going so much deeper than that. So I'd love for you guys to share a little bit of like, what is that depth that, I know, Caroline, you might speak on this, is that I never suggest the healers that I teach do one-off sessions. Like, that is the biggest no. So I'd love for you guys to share a little bit about your thoughts on this, like one session every 6 months or just a one-off session. I know I don't do this. So I'd love for you guys to share.
Yeah, I'll chime in there. I'd also love to share what I'm seeing in my industry, if I can.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
One of the things I failed to mention is I work with healers and psychics getting their energetics so that they can really step forward powerfully in the world. And I also, as a medical intuitive, work with anybody that has a health issue. What I'm seeing is a lot of rare, weird illnesses that are coming in. I've seen it, and I see that it's going to continue if we don't start really connecting with our bodies. I see it in younger people as well. So that's one thing that I'm seeing already, and I see that it's going to continue until people take their power back and really start doing their inner work. So I do see that. The other thing I see is a lot of healers, their body cannot hold the bigger energetics because they haven't done their inner healing, whatever that looks like for them. I have my own idea of what that looks like, that you have to address all of you, the physical, the mental, emotional, spiritual, and the energetic. And I see a lot of healers are getting burned out. I also see a lot of healers that don't believe that they can actually physically heal. Not everybody's meant to be a medical intuitive and healer, but I see a lot of limitations. And that again comes with expansion work and really connecting in and doing your work, if you will, to expand into the highest version of you. I also see that a lot of healers, and this is no shade, but I'm seeing it, and I'm gonna speak on it. Is they're not truly connected to the energetics. They think they are. They might be using somebody else's modality, which is never going to be as powerful as your own healing modality. I believe that. And I was in that ballpark for years. So I totally get it. I am not throwing shade, but my own healing modality is always stronger than anything else that any other modality. It just is. It is. And yours is going to be that way for you as well. So I wanted to share with that right
Love
off the
that.
bat. Did you want to add anything?
No, I agree with all of these. And
Okay.
one of the things, you mentioned is that there's these rare illnesses. And I think this is such a great segue and move into that aspect of if somebody is coming to you with a rare illness, in my experience, I would never just be like, oh, let's do a one-off session and done. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the work, why it's important to not just do that one-off session and what is required of healers in those sessions as you move forward.
Yeah, I don't even offer one-off sessions. I mean, I might do it like if it is somebody I've already worked with and we're just tweaking a little thing. But here's the thing. I can throw energy at you all day long and I can restructure and do all this. And then you leave and you go into your world and you are not able to hold those energetics. You're going to feel good for a couple of days maybe, and then you're going to feel like junk again. So it's important to be able to embody, and I know that word's used all over the place now, but to really be able to hold and integrate the healing as well as going deeper. You have to look at your thoughts and beliefs. If you don't believe you can heal, you're going to be swimming upstream. You are not going to be able to fully heal your body. You're just not. You've got to get your belief, your mindset, but your beliefs. You've got to work with those shadow aspects of self. And you have to be able to do all of it. What emotions are you holding? This, you can't do this in a 60-minute session. My minimum packages are 1 month long. And that is for something that is, not crazy serious. Like if you've got a serious health concern, a health disease, it's going to be longer. And it also depends on how much work my client is able to do for themselves. I can't want it more than my client does. And I see it a lot in the healing circles as people are like, can you pray for me? Can you send me good energy? Can you, whatever it is. Well-meaning people are throwing energy at people left and right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's helping anybody either, because energy, if you can read energetics, you can see what's going on and what's needed. I tend to channel and tune in before we come up with a plan, because everybody is unique, and what works for Sally Ann might not work for Betty Sue. I want to do the best I can as a healer and show up as powerfully as I can so that my client can heal their body so that they can go in the world and be awesome.
Yeah,
That
I
is
love that. Yeah, and I love that
So-
aspect of not doing a one-off session. So there's no false belief that one session, one energy work is actually going to heal you. Yeah, I love that. Ceej, how about you? I know this is probably a question that people have, is that aspect of people look at mediums and they're like, okay, but you're just supposed to validate that my departed loved one is still there. But I know the way that you're approaching it and that it's so important to approach it in the future is different. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you approach it and why.
Yeah, so I definitely do one-off sessions, and I definitely have packages where it's more integrated. And then I have Voxer. There's many ways that someone could come into my world and be supported, but all of those different ways are going to offer different levels of depth. And so that is something I think is just in educating what I do and then bringing in people where they're comfortable at and leading them through that. But for sure, in the way in which I look at mediumship and what is possible, and where people really start to understand, okay, this is something that truly gets to involve me and my spirituality and my connection to the other side and what that looks like. And I get a lot of those, oh, whoa, like moments of like what that can look like for them, because it's connecting to your loved one, but then all of a sudden it's understanding what your capabilities are, what is being asked of you on a spiritual level for your healing journey, what a connection, how it can be built with spirit on the other side, and what that specifically looks like, and how we can build that over time. It also leans into your personal objectives and purpose in life, like what you came here as a soul to do, and to understand the soul journey. Because if we understand spirit, we understand the other side. That lends to understanding soul. So not just of our loved ones on the other side, but then what our journey is. So I have people from all walks of life of coming in specifically to speak with their loved ones, creating that connection, but then also people looking at their own purpose. What does that look like? How do I build these gifts within me? What does that look like in my business? What does that look like as building these own gifts? So it does become very layered in that way, and understanding the psychic context. I think it's so important. And this is where people can really dive in and then take it at their own rhythm of what really speaks to them. But when people come in and we want to talk to a loved one, you spoke about before, which I found really interesting, like having to wait 6 months after a loved one has passed away or something of that sort. I've had that question of, they just passed. Is it possible to talk to them? I heard we have to wait a certain amount of time. And for sure, the connection with spirit has their own growth on the other side. I can call in any spirit at any time and connect to them. So that is not a problem. The relationship or the connection that we're going to have with that spirit may look different now to in a few months in our time that we're experiencing here, may look different. So there is a building of that relationship, but it doesn't mean that we can't have connection. Doesn't mean that we can't learn what's going on. And it's really to understand the psychic context. So I am not just and this is what's so special about mediumship, is that you can hear spirit, but then if you look beyond that and truly know how to master energetics, is that you're looking at the whole psychic context. So if spirit is not able to deliver a message to me, or they're not able to communicate, or they're not willing, if they're not ready, I can truly understand on a soul level what is going on. I can also understand the psychic context to explain what is going on to my client. And from there, they can decide how they want to journey with me in that, whether it's their own personal growth or also in that connection to the other side. So there's just so many pathways in which we can go, whether it's on a soul level to connect with spirit, development of gifts, but all of that, regardless if it's in one session or if it's in 3 or 6 months with me, I make sure that that psychic context is really understood. So that's how I see it.
So I have a question in regard to the whole mediumship community, though. Why do you think that this is such an important change? Because one of the things history has shown that people go to mediums because they're sad and they need validation. But what have you seen that the mediumship community is moving into, and why does it need to move into that?
Yeah, that it doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be that gloom and doom. It doesn't have to be just pure grief. Grief is part of it. Healing is definitely part of it. But it's so much more expansive than what we all think it is. And this is where I bring that psychic mediumship, not just, but to explain what it is that I'm doing. It's accessing like all these different realms of psychic energy to understand how the spirit world fits into that and understand what's really going on in a soul level. So it doesn't have to be this heavy thing where we go only when we're in grief, is that we can actually just establish a whole new standard of our connection to the other side. We can create that daily connection in our daily lives and understand mediumship that way, of saying like, okay, I'm establishing, understanding who my guides are and what that looks like and how they're helping me in life. I understand what my grandmother's role is in my life and my connection to her, and the generational shift that is needed to heal and to transcend. And so I get to journey along in my day-to-day life, understanding this context and leading through that. So and I can enumerate so many things, but it's not just about healing and the grief, although that's part of it. It's also about so much expansion and discovery and uncovering new levels of consciousness as well.
And you agree that all mediums should have to learn, not just you, but all mediums should be doing this. That's part of what you're teaching people.
Yeah, all mediums must be psychic, must be able to tune into this, because it's what allows us to lean into the mastery around energetics. It's just a need to. I also believe that every medium is meant to tune into energy in their own way, is meant to lead mediumship in their own way and do it in a very specific way. But at the baseline, mediums must be able to discern, they must be able to read energetics, master that, and they must be able to tune into psychic energy, which means that I'm not just hearing spirit and regurgitating, I'm not just a telephone. I can take in the whole context of what's available to me and really understand all the pieces of what's going on.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I've seen, and we've talked about it a little bit, is that there are a lot of low vibrational energies coming to Earth. So there are a lot of low vibrational energies that are messing with psychics, that are messing with healers, messing with mediums. I've even heard, the religious community say that mediums, speak to evil beings or, the devil or whatever it is. And one of the things that I see is that as these low vibrational beings and more are coming, like that is just how it is. As more and more come, there's things that we shouldn't be doing. So for me, I talk about the fact that psychics should not be using tools. They should not be using tools. No psychic should be using tarot cards to give a reading, should be using dowsing rods or pendulums or any of that stuff to depend on a reading, because of the fact that any low vibrational energy can mess with them. I also speak about the fact that all psychics should absolutely know how to connect with guides and understand who they're talking to at any moment. If they're not, I would even go so far as to say people shouldn't be doing readings. If you cannot tell me, and I've had a lot of psychics come forward and say, oh, I got this message, and I'll say, well, who is the message from? And they couldn't tell me. If you cannot tell me who it's from, why they showed up, what they're here for, how they're helping you, then you should not be digesting the message nor sharing that. So I'd love for you guys to talk a little bit, if it pertains to your industry, on the low vibrational energies that are coming in or the low vibrational energies that are around. Caroline, maybe it's the low vibrational energies that are actually affecting the body, but what are some top things, just one or two top things that you think the industry needs to know, and what the providers in those industries should be doing?
I'll go. Yeah, so lower vibrational beings can absolutely drain your energy, which will lower your vibration, which will lower your immune system, which will mess with your health. So for healers, I stand by this. You got to connect with your energetics every single day, not just, when you're doing sessions. Every day for yourself. When you're in a session, you need to be knowing what you're connecting with. If a guide steps forward, like Carrie said, you need to know who it is. And here's something, if you're not sure, you need to ask. And if they are activating your ego or your lower chakras, you really need to stop and ask, because that could very well be a lower vibrational being that is messing with you. Here's the thing, when you heal your body and you work on your energetics, your vibration, your overall, we're all energy, you know that, right? Your overall vibration is raising up. When you raise your vibration, that stuff, those lower vibrational energies, are not going to be an energetic match for you. Yes, as you are up leveling, you might get higher, lower vibrational energies, if that makes sense. But again, when you're doing the work, your vibration is higher. When you're higher, first of all, you're not a match for any of the disharmonies, okay? The diseases. Your body is better equipped. Your immune system, we can talk in body, your immune system is higher. All of your systems are running better, okay? I mean, that's really basically what I want to say. You've got to be able to read the energetics, and you need to be connecting with your body every single day. The body whispers until it doesn't, and then you need to do some healing work.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think, and I think you touched on this a little bit, is that if you have a low vibrational energy attached to you or an entity attached to you, it is going to affect your physical body. You can have pains in your arm. You could have, if you have an attachment, you can have something drastically physically going on. And so being aware or working with a healer on what is actually attached to your body, because that physical symptom that you have might be coming from that. So,
well, and just to say, and also sometimes in the healing community, everything is, I have an entity when it's your human. So you need to be able to decipher, is it your human or is it actually an entity or lower vibrational being? Because it could be either, and it sometimes can be tricky to discern between the two. That's why it's so important to be able to read energy.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Ceej, you want to share with us?
Yeah, well, this one's fun because like you're talking about like all these low vibration. I'm like, ooh, like this is exciting because in mediumship, this is a huge fear that comes up, especially when people start to dive into it. They're like, I know I have some gifts. I know even have people who feel like they are able to validate messages from the other side, but they don't dare open that door because they just already have this onset feeling that it's coming with a range in mediumship, and it does, of all of, from low vibrational to high vibration. They're like, I just do not like this. So this is where discernment is key in this. And this is why discernment is absolutely crucial for mediumship, especially when you're dealing with loved ones and these messages that are so, so, so important. And to understand what is happening vibrationally. So if someone's passed away, in a very traumatic way, if someone has this belief system that that must mean that they're in some dark place, you create that reality without it actually being real. So there's discernment on that level just as much as discerning what's coming in and knowing if it's good or not. Sometimes we think that we feel this intense energy. We're like, oh, this must be something good because it feels very intense, when it's actually something that is low vibrational. And so this was something that for me, and I guess just being part of my purpose, where I started mediumship, and Kara, that's where we met, because I was like, I need someone who speaks this language, who wants to understand exactly what they're talking to. It's not a guessing game, and it's not coming from validation from my clients. Like, I do not want to just base everything from what my clients are confirming. I want to know with certainty. So if they're wrong, if, my mind is wrong, like, I want to know that I can rely on this gift to tell us with certainty what it is that we're connecting to. And one of my first experiences of connecting to like external energies was an entity. And that was a beautiful lesson for me to understand and discern where, what my natural mechanisms were to protect my energy, knowing that they were pretty good. And I was pretty proud of that. I was saying, oh, wow, that was an entity. But now I understood what my energy was doing naturally to protect myself from that. And now I could understand how others may not have that natural, protection mechanism, and that we all have different ways of relating to these energies. So this is where discernment is key, healing is key, understanding, like, it's this whole trifecta, so that we can truly understand the other side. Not so that we're leaning in fear. And so I get that, but it's when we have that discernment, then we no longer have to live with that fear to that level again, because we understand energy and vibration, and we don't judge it for good or bad. We just see it for its truth and know what to do with it.
Yeah, I totally love that. And I love the fact that you're speaking about how, it's an integrity aspect for people to be doing that healing work and that discernment. And I totally agree. One of the things that I drastically see changing as we move into the future is the integrity level and the way in which people approach readings. I cannot tell you how many times, and I've seen even people that I have I have some respect for, doing things that I wouldn't in my lowest of low days do as a psychic reader, reading the energetics of celebrities, or reading and sharing publicly the energetics of somebody that was not ever asked. And I get it. That's, some people are like, but celebrities put themselves out there. But just because we can see things, and just because we have the ability to read beyond what most people do, it doesn't mean that that's what's going to, that's what we should be doing. And I know that as we move forward, and as people really understand the impact that psychics or healers or mediums can have on their life and their privacy and the information that they hold, that the psychics who have the highest level of integrity with their work, with who they're reading for and how they're reading for, and the psychics that really move in the highest of vibration, are the ones that are going to make the biggest impact and be the ones that are leading this industry. So I know as a psychic, that's super important integrity wise. Does anybody want to share what's one thing in your industry that integrity wise has to change?
Well, in mediumship, I can name many, but I've been seeing like just what I see sometimes in passing, and I'll see people doing past life readings of celebrities, things of this nature. And I'm like, hold on a second, we didn't get permission for that. So absolutely. Or just riffing off what someone is saying and confirming something or telling them, I could see the energy and they're telling them something that is going to lead them in the wrong direction. Is going to lead them that is not in true alignment with them. It's based off the ego, or it's based off something where these two people come together and they both feel good about this message instead of the real message that's coming in that'll make them feel uncomfortable, but that will direct them in the right way, right? So there's a lot of this around mediumship and psychic work, healing, even where I see that it's not about having popularity on what can make you feel the best. It's about true alignment and the integrity of the work, and not pushing that. So I'm just in full agreement with that. But I see that a lot in mediumship as well, as these readings, or calling in some type of being even, and it being a channel for that. And you see that there's no actual connection, or it's a lower vibrational energy, and that just kind of being put out there for as like truth and light. But this is where it's a lesson for everyone. It's like this greater global understanding of lesson. I don't see it as bad necessarily. It's just those who participate in that get to also have that opportunity to lean into their own discernment and say, I think I don't want to adhere to this, or I want to dive in deeper in understanding if this rings true to me or not. So a lot of that going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you highlighted on the aspect that a lot of people are like playing with the energy and playing with, calling in spirits and beings, whether they're using Ouija boards or just, calling in any being that will come in. I think that's a huge thing that mediums and psychics absolutely need to pull in their integrity around, because with all these people playing with tarot cards and Ouija boards and dowsing and pendulums and all that aspect, we have opened so many portals for beings to come in, and we are just freely channeling with them. So absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Caroline, one of the things that I'd love if you can speak on for the healing industry that I've seen integrity wise, and I've seen it a lot since, and it's going to shift even more so. One of the things that you mentioned is that there's a lot of rare illnesses that are coming in. And one of the most well-known rare illnesses that we all experienced was COVID. And one of the things that I've seen, and it really did kind of, make me take a step back, was that when COVID hit, or there was a rare illness or a rare disease or anything like that, the healers that were speaking about, I believe in healing and I trust healing and I do this, all went back on their word, all turned around and did the exact opposite, were pretty much hypocrites, because that rare illness, that rare disease really scared them and they weren't really grounded. So I'd love if this is something you could speak on, I'd love to hear your thoughts for the future on these rare illnesses and, healers really doubling down on their trust and belief.
Yeah, I was actually gonna mention that, because I see a lot of healers who are not doing their own healing. Okay, first of all, so they're preaching one thing, they're doing another. I see a lot of healers. It's just going to be more important for healers of the future, energy healers of the future, to be walking their talk, embodying who they say they are, and expanding their energetics to hold bigger energies, to trust themselves and their connection more and more, because otherwise they're going to be fearful. They're going to be in fear. They're also going to be doing their healings and their energy readings and psychic readings through their own filters. So they're going to be projecting their junk and their fears all over. I see that all the time, all over their clients. It's so important to get I've had to put my ego, my human, my prior knowledge, all the things that I've learned, which is a lot, in a box, lock the box, put it over here so that I can be as clear as possible, because I don't think that I know that people need different things. And for some people, they need the Western medicine for a while. For some people, they need this. For some people, they need that. So another thing is, I see a lot of healers reading out of a book. If you have this symptom, this is what it means. The healers of the future can't do that, because that is simply not true. That was one person's opinion, belief, their downloads. Is it bad or wrong? No. is it, yes, this is what it means for every single person? No. And I see a lot of that online. People just reading from the book. They're calling themselves healers, but they're saying, oh, you got low back pain. That means you got money issues. Maybe, maybe not. So it really is, it comes back to, and I feel like we're all saying the same thing in our own fields, is that discernment, working on your energetics, being as clear of a channel as possible as we are all expanding. I still have growth to do. Our souls are here to grow and expand. I grow and expand because that's my intention. I invest in myself. I do my healing. I show up so that I can be the best healer for my clients, so that they can heal and go off and do their, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful ripple effect, right? I heal myself and you heal, and then everybody heals, and we live in perfect world. That is my vision for the future, is that we all take radical responsibility for our own healing so that we can be that ripple effect out into the world, changing the world like we want it to be.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. Ladies, we have shared some amazing things. I'm going to do a quick little recap, and then there are some questions that I'll have you guys, they're directed to you. So I'll read them and you guys can answer those questions. But as we move forward, it is so important that the highlighted things that I want to talk about here and want to just make sure we drive home is that, for one, you have to raise your standards and how you do work, what you're doing, how you're practicing, and we got to get out of the fear-based energy. You have to take full responsibility for your energetics. It is crucial. I see a lot of burnt out psychics, a lot of burnt out mediums, a lot of burnt out healers. I know psychics who can only do like 1 or 2 readings a day. It's going to get bigger and more expansive, and the energetics are going to get heavier. So if you are a psychic, a medium, a healer, and you're not doing your own healing work or haven't been on your own healing journey, it's almost like a shame on you aspect. And the energy is going to push you out of the industry. You will be left behind in the industry. You're not going to be able to hold the energetics. And you're not going to be able to serve people the right way. And lastly, do your due diligence. I am not joking. And I'm not a fear-based person at all. I am just in this space of like, I don't care what being comes in. I'll talk to any being. I know who it is, why they're here, blah, blah, blah. But there are some huge, huge, powerful, low vibrational beings that are coming here to mess with people, and they are focusing on the healers and the psychics and the mediums because those are the people that are their direct contact. And so make sure you do your due diligence when you're checking your body, when you see a spirit in the room, when you're calling somebody in, when you're getting messages, because that can 100% derail you. I have seen a lot of people leave the industry because of the fact that they were communicating with a low vibrational energy. It was giving them wrong information. They weren't growing their business correctly. They were wrong in the answers that they were getting. And they were so frustrated. They had no idea that they just literally exit the industry or close their business down because of the results that they were getting. This is absolutely vital. This is something that I teach inside of my membership. It's something I know that Ceejay teaches for mediums. I know Caroline works with healers. If this is something, if you really want to be successful in what you do, reach out to any of these women. Their contacts are going to be inside of the show notes, okay? I'm going to read some of these questions that people have, and you guys, we're going to answer these. So the first one was, Caroline, it's for you. I was wondering, what does Caroline mean by use your own healing modality?
So everyone has probably heard of like Reiki. I'll just use Reiki because that seems to be the gateway modality that a lot of energy healers use. And I was one of them. Okay. So again, it's fine. Start where you are. But I believe and I know that each healer, if you are truly a healer, you are meant to heal people in whatever way, because you can heal people in emotionally, physically, all the different ways. And there's a lot of us. We each have our own way of doing it, our own innate, that our soul came here to do. And finding and discovering and uncovering our own way of doing that is going to be way more powerful because it's yours. It's in your energetics. Your soul chose it. That was part of your plan. And that is going to be the most powerful way for you to show up and help the most people in the most aligned way. I'm not saying you can't have some success with Reiki or other modalities. Been there, done that. But when I got my own modality, whew, okay, it was just 1,000 times better. I hope that answers your question.
Amazing. Awesome. Okay, the next one is for CJ. It says, what practices do you incorporate daily to ensure you are reading accurately?
What a great question. I'm like, how do I sum this up? So there is for sure practicing is gonna really help. Like the practicing. When at first I was like, how do I practice mediumship if I just don't have that daily clientele with spirit? So I call in spirit. I'm like, hey, universe, send me spirit. Spirit, come in. I can call them in. So why don't I call them in and practice with them? And there was a lot of great refinement that came from that. Also, really leaning into trust, understanding the boxes we put ourselves in and what keeps us from that. And to give you an example, in my mediumship program, the last time it ran, there was this brilliant medium where a spirit came in and she said that the spirit's not talking to me. I don't get it. She's like, I want to understand what she's trying to teach me, what she's trying to show me, why is she just standing there? She's not saying anything. And I looked at her and I said, well, why are you assuming that you need to learn from her? Why are you assuming that? Maybe you're meant to help her. And it changed everything for her. So understanding those constructs where we keep ourselves in boxes, this is where and lean into that trust. So that's a clear example that I could give around that, is continuously looking at the boxes we put ourselves in as we continue to practice and refine our gifts. So those elements, my healing work, leaning into trust and what that trust means of what I just explained, and continuing to practice, those are my daily things that I tune into and check in with, especially around mediumship.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This is so good. Okay, Caroline, this one's for you. When did you know your psychic abilities were more tuned towards medical aspects of your gifting?
I've always known that I was a healer. And when I first started out in my career, I was a massage therapist. So I've always been on the body, and I used to get messages when I was working with the body. So I'm going to say at least 25 years. When I got into Carrie's world, I think I was still calling myself an intuitive. And that was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I don't even know at this point. It feels like forever. I've always been interested in the body. So I guess as long as I can remember, I've always known that. Getting into medical intuition. See, I just called myself a healer. I wasn't differentiating any of them. Plus, I don't really love the term medical intuitive, if I'm being honest, because I'm not a medical person and everybody has intuition. So I need to come up with another word, but most people understand that word medical intuition as reading the energy of the body. But I've always been interested in it. I feel like as a healer, you kind of gravitate naturally to what you're most interested in. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, I think also for you, Caroline, is when we would do practicals, you would really focus in on the organs. Like you would see the organs versus the chakras. And that is a really clear sign of somebody who's a medical intuitive, somebody who constantly goes to the chakras and the heart chakra or they absolutely can do healing, but medical intuitives, we see like the bones, we see the vessels, we see the actual organs before we even look at the chakras. And that's a really good sign that somebody is a medical intuitive.
Yeah, they light up for me. They always have. I still see the chakras and all of that as well, but the first thing that lights up is usually an organ, or I hear it, or I see it. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. All right, next one. If you could this is for me. If you could direct psychics with only one piece of advice concerning what we are stepping into, what would it be? Know yourself. Do your own work, because as you start to do your own work, your gifts are going to naturally come forward. You're going to be raising your vibration. You're going to be tuning into your soul. So you're going to know what your purpose is, and you're going to be clearing out that ego. And as you begin to these are all crucial things for psychics going forward. Psychics shouldn't be leading with their ego. They shouldn't be in low vibrational energy, and they should absolutely have this connection to themselves and their soul, as well as the more connected you get to yourself, what happens is that you start to embody who you are. Embodiment is what helps you to become a master psychic, is you're embodying it. Like my first go-to when anything happens is to read the energetics. From anywhere from growing my business to, raising my kids to dealing with any medical things, whether it's, humans or my pets, as well as like what pastry I should be baking at the bake shop and what is going to sell the best. It's always just using my psychic gifts for all of it because I embody it. So when that is my number one thing is work on yourself, all the other things will come in that work that you do on yourself. This one is for the group. Loved hearing all your insights, ladies. I would love to hear how you would address the folks who say that by pointing out entities, low vibes, etc., that you're just creating fear, or those who say that they don't exist and all you have to do is be high vibe, but in an undergrounded way. One of the things that I have seen is there are a lot of people out there who are in fear and they're speaking around fear around entities. Whether they say they're not speaking in fear around entities or not, you can feel it in their vibration. And when you are solely speaking about entities doesn't create fear. It's the energy in which you speak about them. So if you're afraid of them, if it's one of the things like, oh my God, I have to make sure I'm not connected. If there's any angst around it, you're going to be calling them in. You just naturally will. If you even just have fear on you, you could absolutely call them in. That's why we do the work. So speaking about them doesn't necessarily call them in unless you're trying to call them in. But being in fear energy absolutely does. And speaking about entities can put other people in fear. It's just how it is. It can absolutely put other people in fear. As for them not existing and that you just have to be high vibe, that's a beautiful lesson for people to experience on their own. If they don't believe it, I promise you, if they're meant to experience an entity, they absolutely will. They absolutely will.
Yeah. Well, when I said, I wasn't hearing what I wanted to hear in the industry when I first began with this work I wanted to understand the discernment. I wanted to know what I was connecting to on the other side. And a lot of the answers that I was getting back was as long as you are high vibe, as long as you are good intentions, you don't have to worry about where it's coming from because you're good. You're high vibe. And I'm like, that doesn't land well with me. Like that's not good enough. I want to know. And so that I heard a lot of that rhetoric, and that wasn't good enough for me for my standards and what I wanted to attain. So hello, Carrie, when we met, I love that. I was like, yes, you were like the first one where you were like, absolutely, I agree with you. We definitely need that, and it's necessary. And I'm like, thanks, you're my gal. You're my gal. But this thing about, especially with mediums or people who are leaning to mediumship, even today, one of my beautiful clients who was saying, she's like, okay, I'm going to start opening myself up to the other side, but they're not allowed to be scary. They're not allowed to be scary. Nothing's allowed to come in. Like, I'm like, can you just acknowledge that just saying that you don't want that means that you hold that fear subconsciously? And can we also acknowledge the fact that you hold that fear, that you're not experiencing like very bad experiences right now? So can we just lean into trust and navigate this and use what we know that around discernment, around connecting and your vibrations and all of that? So yeah, I think it's like you said, Carrie, it's something that if you're meant to experience it, you're going to experience it. If we want to deny it, we can deny it, but ultimately it does exist.
Amazing. Yeah, I love it. Caroline, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I want to add just a couple. I agree with everything. We need to remember that we are more powerful than the entity. And if you have a fear, really go within and look at that. I have had interactions with entities and they have taught me discernment. So they are not bad. I mean, some of them aren't very nice, but I am more powerful. I'm not asking to be trusted, universe. I'm not asking. But when I'm in my power and I'm doing my work and I'm checking my energetics, I don't need to be afraid. I don't need to bubble myself to go to the Walmart because I'm solid in my energetics. And so I'm not afraid of something glopping onto me. I check my aura a lot and I check my energy. So we need to remember that we are more powerful than these energetic beings that are here to mess with us. And they come in all shapes and sizes. And sometimes we need to experience them to really own our own power.
Yeah, I love that. All right, we have time for one more, and then we're going to close this up. Ceejay, I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but I'm going to give it to you. Ceejay, I was wondering if you could help connect people with deceased pets. And if yes, do you find it similar or different to connecting with deceased humans?
So it's definitely a different frequency. For sure, I can. There are animal communicators out there. It's their specialty, it's what they do. I wouldn't say it's like the thing that I'm doing all the time, but have I connected to deceased animals? Absolutely. They tend to come in with like a package deal of like the family of whoever's coming through. And that can be really beautiful because there's messages coming in. But yeah, there's a different energy to it. It's a different frequency, just like I would discern between a loved one or a guide or an angel. Like they all have different energies and a different frequencies. So animals have their own. Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you guys. You guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Caroline and CJ, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, for being on this show. You guys, thank you for joining us live here. And I want to stress this is so important as we move into the future. You're going to see a lot of things changing both inside the psychic industry as well as seeing a lot more psychics in other industries. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time on the Psychic Within podcast. Bye, guys.